We're back. We're live. Another great episode of CRmprov. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for another episode. I'm your host, Mickey Baines. If you're new to the show, let me just remind you or tell you who we are. And if you're not new, I'll remind you who we are. CRmprov, we are the go-to podcast in higher ed for all things CRM. All of our conversations may not necessarily talk only CRM, but they will connect to CRM, including today's episode, which I'm really excited about to share with you. I have with me Dave Becker, who is the CEO and co-founder of CampusESP. Just let me tell you a little bit about Dave and CampusESP, and then we're going to dive in. Dave, you're a former senior vice president of product management at Ellucian. You were responsible there for, I don't know how many higher ed solutions, over 1,200, I think, global customers you had, multiple solutions in your portfolio. Like me, you have 25 years in the higher ed space. I think yours is more in technology than mine is, but 25 years, you probably feel that like I feel that. It's a long time.
Every day.
Yeah. You've presented at conferences and industry events all over the place. And you have twin sons who were seniors in high school. So as we talk today about family engagement, parent engagement, admissions and recruitment experiences, you got a lot on your mind that's fresh and it's real. So I don't know that we could have a more timely conversation than right now. Campus ESP, your mission, it's simple. I love it. The mission is student success. You believe the path to student success includes strengthening relationships between schools, students, and families. And for the purposes of today's conversation, might we say that's parents, especially the parents of traditional age students. And I'm excited to have this conversation. Dave, welcome to CRmprov.
Mickey, you are hired. That was a great explanation, except for one thing.
Okay, I love improvement.
Okay, I have twins and a son and a daughter.
Son and a daughter.
I will tell you, there are differences in how they go through the college search process. But yeah, it's an interesting time to both run a parent and family engagement company, and then also experiencing that journey for myself. And again, thanks for having me on the program. I really appreciate it.
Well, I know you have some real things that you probably uncovered yourself with your kids going through the experience.
Yes.
And I want to talk about those. But the first thing I want to talk about is your family engagement report, the 2023 family engagement report. I think I saw it for the first time this summer. I think it was around that time when I saw it released. My favorite thing I've read, my favorite report in the higher ed space that I've read this year, I told you that before we recorded, and I'm sincerely honest with everyone listening. I really, really loved that report. I don't know if I was just completely unaware of some of these things. They haven't been enough on my mind. Maybe it's also because my oldest is a sophomore in high school, and so that college search process is more on my mind. But there was some great information in there that help you think about how engaging parents and engaging families is so crucial to the recruitment process. The one stat I will throw out there right now that really stood out to me, 88%, the percent of respondents to your survey that expect weekly communications to parents and families. 88% weekly.
Yeah.
How many schools have you worked with that, before you even sign a contract, they're not doing anything for parents at all, much less weekly engagement with parents?
Yeah, it is not only extraordinarily high and surprising, but it has increased each of the last 6 years since we've done this survey. And that's on parents of prospective students and actually parents of current students as well. It's very consistent. It's in the mid to upper 80s. And I will tell you, when we first started Campus ESP, which was about 7 or 8 years ago, and we did this survey, although it was smaller in scope, that percentage, that 85, 88% was 41%. So it has gone up. If you're on campus, if you're feeling like parent involvement is increasing or the expectations are increasing, I can tell you from a data perspective, we definitely see that.
So it's more than doubled in 6 years.
Yeah. And COVID had a lot to do with that.
Yeah.
Social media has a lot to do with that. Before any of that happened, though, I would say the cost of education also drives a lot of that engagement, right? Like parents are being asked to make some of the biggest investments of their lives that they'll ever make. And it's just unrealistic to think that students today, I mean, my children are going to make a decision for the next 5 years that's going to affect them for the next 50 years. And when they're looking at, okay, this is how much debt it means, they don't really have that perspective. So
Yep. Yep.
I really go back to that. I know there's lots of reasons why we might like or dislike parent involvement, or we want people to back off. But at the end of the day, if you look at it from from a return on investment perspective,
Yeah.
I think it makes it's not surprising, right?
We're in a sensitive time. The cost of education is, in my lifetime of, or at least adulthood, it's not been as important or in front of the face or a high topic of conversation. I mean, it's always there for families that are entering this piece, but widespread, the cost of education, you just see that so frequently right now. Again, maybe I'm just super sensitive to it, but I see that in my mind. Really, it's all over the place. So let's talk about your current experience as a parent of two children looking to enroll. What's been the most surprising thing for you?
Um, um, Probably just the mailers right now. I'm in that process where we've gone through 11th grade. They've taken some standardized tests, and the amount of mailers that come
Ooh,
through. I'm based in Philadelphia, so
yeah.
I can just tell you, my kids are not going to go to school that isn't like even like a direct flight away. But we have like just no basis for some of the mailers that were. I think what was it? It was like 13 pounds of mail for each of my kids, and that's just their junior year. I can tell you, the first 3 months of their senior year, it is probably more than that. And so the amount of spend that goes into it, my kids don't read any of it. They know to put it into a basket so I can use it for marketing purposes
Yes.
for Campus ESP. But beyond that, they don't really. So it's around, like, if how schools are aligning spend and the same things that they've done in the past. Some of it's important, but not all of it's going to probably be as effective as it used to be.
And and then let me shift to say, as the CEO of Campus ESP, and you're doing these annual engagement reports, as you study what families expect and what families want versus what colleges and universities deliver, what are the top two things you've kind of taken away from that?
That's a great question. I think first off, let's talk about social media.
Yes.
This is always, and this is in the report, which is we ask parent communication preferences, and everybody's focused on social media, Facebook. The parents are on Facebook. It is really low. The preference for getting information from about their students, college, university, is, I think, around 5% for parents, and it is highest for parents that are earning the most, and lowest preference for families that are making the least amount of income. So that's number one. So most people are like, I got to focus on social, but most families that where they really want to get information from you is in email. So not social, but in email, and that is even across all those different income levels. So
Okay.
can you just step away from social? No, but for how much effort and time that schools are spending in there, I think it's maybe kind of the wrong investment. The other thing is we're seeing more and more parents and families want communication from text messaging. And that
Okay.
is a very, very recent trend, and is generally, again, that preference is highest for families that have lower income levels, and families of first generation students. So if that is a target for you, where you're trying to reach those families, it's not just about email. It's probably starting to look at it, some text messaging too, where maybe technology is a barrier for those families.
Hmm. That scares me a little bit because you know firsthand, I know because of the number of schools we work with, how, and not just in higher ed, but really in higher ed, we've embraced this, how we've ruined email as a medium for communication, and as we embrace more deeply SMS. Not that it's new and people haven't been doing it, they are, but as we think about it, expanding that for different populations, the likelihood that we royally screw that up is pretty high, um, because we want to send communication to parents, email and SMS, because and you can share statistics that say parents want it. But there's a difference between what they want in communication and the type of communication and what it's about to make it relevant and useful. They don't want, I mean, they don't just want to see your name in a from line. They want something that's going to help them understand what their son or daughter is going through and what they should be doing next, how the information that will help them make a decision with their child.
Yes. And I would say there's some good news here too. It's not all
Okay,
doom and
let's.
gloom.
I want good news.
And
Yes,
here's
I'm
the
not
good
a
news.
doom and gloom person. Let's have good news.
Yeah, parents open emails.
There
Parents
we go.
open emails. So by the time the student enrolls, their parent, the email open rate for those parents and families are generally 65%. It's about 65% email open rate.
That's
And then
that's a great metric.
which is they are opening it, and then you can ask them to complete surveys. You can literally say, what other schools is your student looking at? Can you rank the schools? We use parent engagement not only as a means to, we call it nudging the nudger, right? You can nudge the parent and they will nudge their student. That's nudging the nudger. But you can also use parent engagement as a predictor of student enrollment. Will the student enroll? We know that if a parent's in the top quartile of engagement, we know that their student is 3 times more likely to enroll. So you can
that alone. Hey, that's the episode. But there's the core of the episode right there.
Goodbye.
That alone, the ROI
Yeah.
on any investment you make on not just parent engagement, but understanding the level of parent engagement. That
Right.
alone is worth that investment, because what you can do with that data, and this in my world, CRM hat goes on. What I can do with that is incredible. I mean, all the outreach we can do is just phenomenal at that point. So I'm sorry to cut you off, but that just blew my mind right there.
Yeah, it is. And we see it at every school. If you go to CampusESP.com, you can download the case studies where we see it. And there's one other thing. There's at least in CampusESP, the ability to set up and personalize a parent account. If a parent does that in CampusESP, their student is 11 times more likely to enroll. It is just a huge data point that, we combine that information into what we call parent promoter score, but you can send it back to your CRM. You can use it with super scoring. It is, are there going to be parents that are looking at your information that have a student that's not interested in your school? Yes, that's always going to happen. But the more time a parent does click through and engage with that content, they're not doing it unless their student's really interested in that school. Yep. And that is a huge data point that you can use from a modeling perspective, that you can use to really help you modernize your enrollment strategy.
So you just touched on where I was going to go next. So there are two pieces, and I've got to say this before I forget it and lose my train of thought. This is CRmprov. We don't script it, folks. You should know that by the title, and by hearing me the number of times I've spoken and had episodes. I don't script these things, so I'll forget them. I'm probably forgetting it right now. The two things, that enrollment modeling piece, that's an important piece. But the other thing is, I talk a lot about engagement. I want to be clear, and we'll go into this in just a moment, what your tool does, because that engagement, you can take care of that engagement, a lot of that right in CampusESP. We'll talk about that. The other thing I would say is that modeling piece. So if you are looking at likelihood to enroll and you're trying to make predictions, if you're trying to use that type of data to maybe impact if you want to award someone additional dollars because you have some left over at the end of the year, that's data you have to have. If you have other technology that doesn't allow you to create that integration, you're in trouble. You need to have that, because that is how you really, that ROI, we talk ROI a lot. How do you get ROI? You make those connections. You use that data to more intelligently deliver or execute spend dollars, to more intelligently communicate with students and parents. All of that comes into play. So we want that data, you need it. So I'll say that, I'll pause that. Now let's talk about what you do at CampusESP to put that information to use in terms of really engaging parents. How does it work?
Yeah, so we take parent information, whatever you have, sometimes it's just email, and we create an experience for parents. So there's portal, there's email, there's potentially text messaging. There's lots of different features in the system where parents can set up their own communication preferences, such as how often they want to receive a newsletter from your institution. And then CampusESP kind of just runs itself. Most of the schools spend an hour each week maintaining the content. It kind of just figures it out based off of what parents are doing, what they're clicking on in the system. And then we take information from your CRM about the enrollment stage of the student so that parents get regular newsletters that are personalized for not only what their interests are, but for where the student is in the enrollment funnel. So if you're trying to get students to visit campus or complete their application or send in a deposit, we create similar messages to the parents in CampusESP. And then we track all that through engagement stats at the parent level, at the enrollment stage level, and at the content level. And so we kind of act as like a complete parent engagement strategy for our schools. I will say you could also work on building that yourself. There's a lot of comm flows that you could build in CRMs. You could use MailChimp. You could put people on it to engage with parents. So there's not one way to do this. It's just that CampusESP usually makes it easier for schools. Our implementation's 3 weeks, and typically we act as kind of like an extension of the enrollment team that we work with.
So I'll put on my consultant hat for a moment, because one of the things I will say to clients or prospective clients or at conferences, my initial bias going into a conversation before I know anything, my starting point is the fewer the tools, the better, because it's just so complex to manage everything. But there's always exceptions to that. And I think and I don't even have to hear another school's scenario to say, here's the exception for CampusESP, because what you described was a single place to manage all the parent piece in and of itself. I can connect it at CRM and do other things, and I don't have to worry about trying to do one thing with parents in one tool, another thing with parents in another tool. I can do everything with parents in one tool. The other magical phrase you just mentioned, I'm going to pick up my microphone. I don't do this. 1 hour a week. 1 hour a week. Like, okay, who manages a campaign with 1 hour a week?
Yeah.
That's even the best technology. We all have our personal favorite features or functions within any platform or any point solution that we like.
Right.
But how many of them allow you to operate it on something that can deliver what you just described, the ROI, in an hour a week? So, this is not, just be clear, this is an unpaid conversation. This is not what we don't, CRmprov does not solicit payment for episodes, right? This is real. And this is why I want to have this conversation with you, Dave, because we understand, we know the role of parents. And even if we don't know the exact number, and you probably could give me that number, to the extent to which parents influence that decision, we know it's important. We know it's the number one factor.
Right.
And you've got it right. And we know that there's a gap between what parents want and what we're delivering. And with almost every institution, if we really admit to ourselves what we're doing, it's not where it needs to be. We know we're stretched for time. We don't have enough staff. We don't have enough people. We need opportunities to engage, connect, and let that influence happen naturally and organically without having to spend a lot of time and money to do it. And
yeah,
so what you described to me is that solution.
Just from the vendor perspective, everybody focuses on the features and all the details. And when we go through a presentation, we do the presentation that I'm sure most of your viewers have seen before, which is there's a couple slides, then you go into the presentation, you answer questions. But the reality is where is the most value from your partners, from your vendors? It's probably on picking up the phone and supporting you through the implementation, but also through the course of the year. So, I kind of view CampusESP as a solution. This is probably too jargony here, but and a solution is a combination of like a product and a service. And so the product is the portal and the email, but the service is like 40% of our team is from higher ed. They've engaged with parents before. They know what they're doing. And if you have that expertise on campus, great. Do whatever works for you. But definitely engage parents and families. But if you don't, I think we're a good alternative to add scale and get it live quickly. The other thing is it takes our average implementation takes 3 weeks. So it's something that could, impact this year's enrollment cycle, especially right now, because this is app season, right? I just went into the Common App with my kids, so watching what they were doing and helping them in some areas think about what they want to have in there. And so parents are very engaged. And so now is the absolute best time, even if you're not going with a CampusESP or if you don't have your comm flows completely built out, to just do something that recognizes when an application is sent by the student that you say something to the parent. Out of the, I want to say across both my kids, they sent a total of, I think, 16 apps. I got parent communication from, I think, 5 schools. So if you're trying to differentiate yourself, be one of the 5 schools.
Be the
right?
6th.
Easy.
Yep. So 3 weeks. I wish I could implement something in 3 weeks. We're in CRM world. If we can get it done in 4 months, we've done something we're high-fiving and cheering about. And so I think that 3 weeks is important. Impacting enrollment this fall, important. I want to ask, and we've not planned, and I have not planned in any way what all the questions I'm asking you, but this is one that just came to my mind. Has anyone thought about how to use this to support efforts in dual enrollment? Those programs where colleges are offering the courses to high school students while they're still in high school. Have they used it for that purpose?
Yes.
Okay.
2-year institutions, that everybody uses it for dual enrollment.
Okay.
And I think that's one of the reasons why, if you're gonna engage parents in your CRM, I'm all for it. I'm here to tell you, engage parents and family members.
Yeah.
And if you want to do it, look at it in CampusESP, great. But otherwise, just do it somewhere. So a lot of our schools go full 360 with parent engagement. And so even when the student enrolls, parents play a role in student retention. And we see it. We have case studies online that actually quantify that impact. So that experience for parents can extend from the pre-enrollment side all the way through to the college experience, with the goal of, student success. That's where you started this discussion, right? Parents play a role in student success. And so for a lot of our schools, we cross that whole experience. The parents are already engaged at the pre-enrollment stage. And then once your student enrolls, there's lots of different opportunities where you can still use that nudge the nudger concept. Let's say you're trying to get students to show up at a job fair. We had one school they were like, literally, we did nothing different except we sent an alert through CampusESP to parents, letting them know that the job fair was coming up in another week, and student participation increased 40%. They were like, we literally did nothing else different except we sent that to parents. And parents are nudging their students. And again, you can like it, you can not like it. It doesn't really matter. It is just an opportunity for you to really impact enrollment and different student outcomes that you're trying to fight through every single day.
You just said it though. You like it, don't like it, doesn't matter. It's just a piece of data.
Yeah,
it's showing you what that impact is, and what you just described though is a test. We know what we've done in the past. We're going to repeat that, but we're going to add one thing. And the easiest part about it, because you did it with CampusESP, I can very easily demonstrate that I've repeated the exact same thing. The timing, everything else is the same except this one thing. I can separate it out and show then the overall outcome, that 40% increase is very easy to show, to demonstrate the value of that. That school just paid for CampusESP and that one thing alone, likely.
Yeah.
Like, it's not necessarily going to be the tool that or the event for students that retain students necessarily, but you just made an engagement, you just increased that, and who knows how many students might get the interview that they want and need to get placement, which we know the pressure on college universities to ensure that kids are graduating and they're getting jobs and moving on and be able to earn, and they can pay back loans and increase the satisfaction, all those things. Who knows how many more would have landed a role because 40% more people attend that event.
And let me put something else out there. Parents talk to other parents. If they have a great experience if they have a great experience, or if their student has a great experience, they want to tell other parents about it. They become your recruiting and admissions superhero, because they do get on social, they do talk to other parents, and they influence a lot of outcomes. I want to tell you, so we were talking about this research study that we did this year. And one of the newer questions is the importance of experiences. And I've never seen this. This is the first year I've ever seen this result, Mickey. So, and the importance of experiences, parents rank the importance of experiences in helping select or helping their students select where they eventually enroll. And the number one, as you would expect, is on-campus visit, right? We all know that.
Yep. Yep.
Number two, and I'm looking at it on my second monitor here, is, and we've never seen this before, so this is the first time this has ever happened, and I almost don't believe it myself. The quality of the school's communication with parents and family.
Yeah, right. The quality.
The quality. So it's and we've never seen that in the top five.
So that scored that high.
And
the key word to me is quality, because the other stat we referenced earlier, 88% expect weekly. So that's quantity.
Right.
So it can't just be weekly junk, weekly quality, and quality, relevance, timeliness, all those matter in there.
Think about the FAFSA this year, right? When's the FAFSA coming out? Probably December 31st, right? So, and then you have to use that from an aid perspective. Parents are part of that conversation. If you're confused about the FAFSA and you're at a school, imagine parents, family members, they are really, really confused. So just having that mechanism about sending communication about the FAFSA, what it means for their student's application, what it means for qualifying for aid, that whole discussion could be a barrier for them. And really, it's not even about competing with other schools. That parent might encourage the student to be like, look, we can't afford this. This whole FAFSA thing has got me spinning my head around. So they could actually dissuade their students from enrollment overall.
You know, as we talk about this and the influence, we talk about the questions that parents have. You know, I'm cognizant of the fact that we have in my family, I'll give my wife the credit for this, but in Facebook, you know, there are groups. You're talking about online communities. We're in a parent group. I'm not going to go into detail about all the stuff of the parent group. What I'll tell you is that there's hundreds of families in this group. It's a private group. It's protected. I don't even know that you got to go through application process to get it. But one of the things that we talk about in there, or they talk about it, and I actually stay silent on this, but is where the kids are looking for school. Mm-hmm. Where they're considering. And you're talking about the feedback, don't go here because of this. This school really did well because of this. That is happening. And if you want to make that impression and ensure that the influence not only influences the students of those parents, but also other parents, there are groups out there they're not just college search. It can be around sports. It can be around other interests that kids, gaming. I mean, there's all these micro communities. To me, I don't love all the things of social media, but that's one of the things I think have come out for me in a positive way is these micro communities that you can build with other people that you didn't know exist. You never would have found in any other way, and share experiences. We've got it for hiking, RVing. We talked about being RVs. I'm in a group, for RV of people who own the exact same model, not just the brand, but this model of this particular RV. And there are a couple thousand people in that group. You know, there's a lot of tips about how you set up this, that, and the other. That type of communication is being exchanged. And so when you talk about family groups, colleges, that whole search process are there, not just on look at them for this, but my student is actually, or my son or daughter is actually enrolled at this school right now. This is their experience.
Yeah. And let me add one more thing to that, which is, you know, it's not just interest. It's race, ethnicity plays a part here as well. Hispanic, Latinx families, they are actually some of the most engaged families, but they are not in social media, right? I bet you if you go through those Facebook groups, they're not seeing a lot of those families there. And if you're an HSI or if you're an emerging HSI, how do you reach those families? Social's probably not going to be the most effective strategy. So you have to think about that. English as a second language, translation. So it you know, if you're going to send out a couple emails to parents, great. But that back to the point we made earlier, the quality of the school's communication with parents and family matters. And then also the types of students that you're trying to enroll. Think about those parent and family members. They vary by the different types of students that you're trying to enroll. You really have to make that part of your strategy.
Awesome. Well, I think that's a great place to pause. I do want to highlight, because company cultures is important for me. I like to talk about it. CampusESP, you've got a pretty good culture there. I see the awards, the best places to work. Where did you fall in this year's list?
We were, I think we were in the top 10. We were in the top 10.
Yeah, in top 10, made the top 10.
I don't,
Yeah.
you know, what's really been exciting is we are in consistently the top places to work, and we are encouraging people back to the office. We've always had a hybrid environment. It's never been you have to be in the office. But one of the things we did this year is we actually upgraded our office. We're in Philadelphia. We're at 15th and Market, right downtown. We have our values on the walls. I'm looking at the values right now for my office, two of which are we're surprising. That's number one. And then normal, decent human kindness is the second one. And I think having people in the office creates connections and stories and friendships that, move beyond any company name. It's about the people you work with and people really enjoying what they do. So I will say the return to the office, at least I would say Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I don't know. I'm in Mondays and Fridays, but I don't think anybody else is. But I really think building a culture, it's tough to do when you're just completely remote. So for us, it's really been significant to try to get people back into the office.
Great. Well, congratulations on that achievement. Something really to be proud of.
Yeah.
I think we can pause there, Dave. This has been so enlightening. A lot of great information. Thinking about parents is a big step. If people want to connect with you and Campus ESP, what's the best way to do that?
You can go to the CampusESP.com website. There is, I would say, of everything that's on there, there's a blogs and research link, obviously in the upper right-hand corner. If you click on that, you can look at case studies, you can look at research, you can do a search on stuff, you can get ideas for what you might want to do with your parent engagement strategy. It's free. There's webinars there. A lot of it is summarizing what we've done at different schools and some of the results that they've seen. So I always encourage people to go there. And then if you want to reach out to me, I'm just Dave at CampusESP.com. I'm sure people could have guessed that. And, happy to direct you to resources that will ultimately help with your enrollment and student success strategy.
Perfect. Dave, thank you very much for joining us. I'm excited to see the great things Campus ESP is doing now, and I'm sure in the future as well. I greatly appreciate the time. Everyone, thank you so much for listening to another episode of CRmprov. Can't wait to see you next week. Tune in. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mickey.